On the grand scale of importance, sometimes living is enough. Legendary or godly are both worthy measurements. But I've never met a hero who isn't bone ache and blood slow tired. While outliving yourself may seem grandiose, the worry of it is just not worth the swell of holding history. Here is your misconception. There is no point where you start to matter. What I mean is, you always have. Open your mind to the idea that existence is significance enough. Forget the belief that you were born coal and have to stress into diamond. If you are a precious metal, then you must be gold. You're beautiful, soft, expensive. You shine no matter what you're doing or who pounds you flat. And the second one's just a little bit longer. It's called Concerns Regarding Parenting. A few weeks ago, my psychology teacher told us about the science behind parenting. From a perspective almost too detached, she explained to us all the experiences of growing up. As she talked, I imagined the child I one day hope to have. Thought of their little body, sculpted from clay, filled with curiosity and possibility and mischief, and thought of all the ways better people before me have let that clay dry out. My teacher describes these methods too, tells us about harsh words, stifling nastiness, how you can put too much of your own weight on a child, or let their little body drift too far. She teaches us about all of this, and when she is done, asks if we have any questions. I think about raising my hand. I would say, teach. The fact of the matter is, I'm 75% neurosis on my best day. And I'm trying, sure. But weeks where I can't get out of bed to take a shower, much less microwave formula or help little hands with multiplication tables. Days where I feel like a derailed train in a packed station, and others where I feel like the kind of black hole planets fall into. Those are not exactly conducive to surviving, much less to nourishing the kind of life a child needs. What if one day I've got to explain my brain to them? How do I tell them that I've got friction where my good intentions and bad memories meet? That I measure in my self-confidence not in cups, but in teaspoons? That some days I can't be there for them because my nerves are hurtling towards space and my brain towards oblivion. How do I tell them that not even their mom is strong enough to defeat her weaknesses? Another thing, I've always believed there should be no obligation to love your parents, that it's not genetics, but shared affections and histories and promises of rebar-beamed support that fosters that bond. You get to choose your family, and it doesn't have to be by DNA. What if they don't choose me? How do I face my flaws like that if they don't love me? Even worse, what if I somehow do everything right and they still don't want me around? My personality lends itself to dependence. I cling to people like you cling to kites on windy days or hope on the rainy ones. They say if you love something, let it go, but I've always been better at keeping it around until it gets sick at the sight of me. What if I hold them too tightly? How do I sacrifice my instincts so that I can provide them with the room they need to breathe? One last thing. I know I'm only 17, but in my short life, I've managed to grow 60 feet tall, forged swords from oak trees, and set out on the kind of quests you write poetry about. I've made friends in the bottoms of coffee mugs and at the ends of piers, met people made of fairy dust, and people made of steel. But my adventuring does not come without its lost battles, without a heart full of poison and a gut full of bile. How do I show my children where my heavens lay? Hoist them onto my shoulders and let them touch the places I've discovered stars. How do I also keep the skin on their hands from flaying off? There are so much in this world they can be, so many miracles they can fit within themselves, if only they want it enough. So I guess the question is, how do I become worthy of that? Thank you.